Hello everyone, I'm going to show you how to prepare pulled pork in the crock pot. So you can get any real type of big piece of pork. This was a big 4 kilogram piece of pork shoulder, but you can use pork tenderloin. Get whatever's cheapest. It makes not a lot of difference, but I saw this, it was only a few bucks more or less than the pork tenderloin, so I went ahead and got this. But unfortunately this is too big for my crock pot, or our crock pot. So what we'll have to do is cut this sucker in half. So you should be mindful of the way you cut this. You gotta fit it in this cocksucker. Yeah, alright, if I cut that right down the middle, we'll be rock solid. Okay. So what you'll need for this first step, we're gonna sear it, or we're gonna cut it, portion it, sear it, or season it, sear it, throw it in the crock pot, and then the sauce will be next. So right now what you'll need is your pork shoulder, salt, paprika, or that's Cajun paprika. We have this brown sugar bourbon steak spice or whatever, and I've been using it and it's been very good. And then whatever else you'd like to put in there, what we have at the time. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this bitch. Give it a fucking cut. That's about half. Give you the money shot here. It's also probably important to have paper towels kicking around. Okay. There we go. So one half is slightly bigger than the other. I'm gonna go ahead and use the smaller half. That's what the inside of that looks like. It's got a texture. Essentially, when we cook it, all of that inside fat is going to be gone, melted. Take the plastic off that. I'll move this to the side for now. Okay, beautiful. Give my hand a quick rinse before I touch the seasonings. So now it's going to be very important. I guess I'm about to touch it anyways, but get this bad boy seasoned. Start with some salt, and I kind of like doing it this way so I have more salt on the board than on it, and then I can roll it around, get manhandling it. So Cajun, this is the spicier one. You don't need a lot. It is a big piece of meat, but you can be very quickly adding too much of this. Lightly dust that, and lightly dust the board, both sides. Okay, beautiful. Now paprika, you want a lot of paprika in this. So, go ahead and be liberal. Okay, there we go. I don't need to do the other side because I put too much on that side. Most importantly now, we got the brown sugar bourbon spice. Yep, this is the one you want to just use a shit ton of. Like, I'll even probably just use the rest of this bottle. Okay. Perfect. That's an empty bottle. Okay. So we're going to start getting this into, you don't want to see any meat color. If you see meat, slam it on that board. We really want this like on every square inch. You cannot over season for this sear, I promise you, because it's such a large chunklet of the meat. The only thing that's going to happen is you could have a very over seasoned bark, which by the time you pull it will actually be mixed in, so it won't be over seasoned. Okay. Now, ideally, let that sit for a second or two. There's a piece of fat on here I'm kind of wanting to cut off. I'm going to take care of that before it's too late. And actually, before I go back at that, I'm going to go ahead have a sip of a beverage, oil the pan you got going in the bag. We're going to put that on like medium high. Don't do high because it'll fucking burn the oil and you'll be fucked. Okay. Let's get this fat piece off. There we go. Of course, because we're cutting off this piece of fat. There we go. Very, very little bone or meat in there. I'm gonna go ahead and re-season that. This is a small piece. Goes straight in the crock pot. Even this, I'm tempted because that's just gonna mess me up when it comes to flipping and searing this. So make sure you turn the fan and the light on for that stove. You will not regret it. Okay. This bad boy's getting worked up. We've got ourselves an absurdly seasoned piece of meat. Gonna wash my hands again. More of a rinse. You don't need to be doing a thorough rinse in most cases. I mean, I recommend before you touch anything crazy, maybe throw some soap in there, but mostly a 95% wash is a good enough wash for me. Oh, there we go. Moving my shit around. Okay. So, oil's heating up. Yeah, we're getting there. Ideally, you want to give this as much time as you possibly can. It's not something that you can really... Okay, if you start to see little wisps of smoke, you're getting a little too far. Tongs are going to be your best friend for this because oil can be splattering, you're going to be crying, there's going to be emotions going on, okay? There's going to be a lot of emotions. So, this oil is getting nice and warmed up. Good. Oil's nice and warm. And now I think, make sure lid's off the crock pot so you can do a clean maneuver. Put that somewhere safe. And I'm thinking I'm gonna rock and roll with it. I'm going to set the camera up over here. Prop you up on the other piece of pork actually. I have sitting here. And because it's such a large piece of meat, it'll be fine. I will re-vacuum seal this directly after this. 10 minutes out of the fridge is not going to kill anything. Okay. So, big chunk. I recommend gripping it skinny way. If you can grip it long way, you have better tongs than me. So, get the short sides first. There we go. Great sound. It's a sound we really like to see. Beautiful. I'm going to let that sit roughly 30 seconds to a minute per side. And with my clean hand, I'm actually going to fucking... Oh shit, this all pumped up. This is the fun part. Little chunklets of this. Just put it right in the oil, man. Trust me. It's already sucking up that oil. Here. You can see that. It's going right into the oil there. Alright. So now, we're just going to go ahead and start crushing up that brown sugar. about 180. I like to let that a little longer. I'm going to go ahead and increase the heat if you don't see enough prep. Personally, I was looking for a bit more than that. So, that's fine. You have essentially 6 sides for the most part to figure out if you're at the right temperature. Searing, moving it around, we're kicking it up, so we're making sure we're getting some of that brown sugar underneath it. Alright. And also remember, it will just naturally get hotter as you start cooking. There's nothing we can do about that. I don't own that kind of technology. Little good. I'm gonna go ahead and get some. Ooh, don't do that. That was kind of hot. Definitely do your best to just make sure this meat gets seared. Put the top side. Small side. Very much a pain. You can't really balance it. I give up. It's too small of a size. So now, with a full chimichanga, whatever you do, try not to start a grease fire. We'll go ahead and wash my hands. Spilt a little bit of oil on the burner, but that's okay. I just gotta be a little less aggressive with it. Smoke a little goes off, it goes off. There's enough ventilation here, I think we're fine. If you see any of these hoops on there, feel free to put them on the last remaining raw side. Remember, we're in no way cooking this through on this sear. Just giving that outside a bit of characteristic before it sits in a pot of barbecue sauce for 8 hours. We're 4. Okay. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, yeah, there we go. Beautiful. Well, I really hope that color comes through on camera. I just like to show that. I'll bring the camera over actually. There we go. That is like the exact color you want to look for. This is what it looked like just 10 minutes ago. This is what we were looking for. So, at this point, I'll put the camera back up over here. I'm going to put the dirty ass cutting board in the sink, as well as the knife. I won't be needing that further. You will have lots of seasonings on your counter. Go ahead, just wipe those into the sink, and I do prefer doing this before the pulled pork for a lot of reasons. Knife guard just goes right back in the drawer. You don't need to wash that. You didn't cut anything with that. Alright. Bring your whatever brand slow cooker. This is a medium-sized crock pot. Take the thing out and bring it to the stove. There's no reason to transfer a 5-pound fucking chunk of meat anywhere. Make it close, make it easy. I'll move that so you can see how it goes. But I'm just gonna go ahead and plop this into this. That's a perfect fit. Okay, the heat's coming off. Tongs are gonna be put aside. Go ahead, because this is just oil, there's no reason to keep it heated. Find a safe burner or a cork pad to leave it on and set it aside. So, this is what we got. We got a pulled pork in our little basket. So let's get this back in a cooker. Now, I've noticed, and personally you'll never get this right, I find. I'm just gonna throw this in a second. It wiggles inside there. It's not a perfect fit. And especially when you're making cheesy items, or most things I find, if it's, sorry, beer burps. If it's not centered left, right, and forward and backward, that sign that's touching the wall will get insanely hotter than the rest of it. So try to keep that centered. Although every time you add something to it, you know, you gotta really just gotta set it and forget it. Okay. So, crisis averted. So I'm turning that fan off, and now we gotta make our sauce. So, like I said, pull the pork in there, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn that on. Today, I'm in a bit of a rush. I'm gonna do a 4-hour recipe. Now, I don't like to start the timer until after I added this sauce. So I know it's been cooking there for at least 4 hours. But center it up, set it to the side just for now, and we're gonna get the sauce going. So, you will need a half-cup measuring cup. I got a little mushroom set on, a 1/3 cup measuring set. You will need apple cider vinegar, some ketchup, preferably Canadian, some leftover barbecue sauce, and I'm going to use this for my base. It's the Clubhouse Slow Cooker Seasoning Mix for barbecue pulled pork. So, if you read the instructions on the back, it'll tell you you need a half cup. I'm going to start with the dry ingredients first. So, oh no, I need a cooking hammer. Strange. Okay. I will have to adapt this recipe without a cooking hammer. Essentially, we will start with a half cup of brown sugar. Okay, this is an interesting one. What can I use instead of a cooking hammer? Okay, I've got a very absurd screwdriver, and that is the size of my finger, just so you know. I'm going to use this as a cooking instrument today. Oh, I seem to have stabbed a hole in it. No less. That will help us. We just need to chunk up about a half cup of this brown sugar. And I'll give you a little pro tip. No one is going to fault you for a second for adding too much brown sugar in this recipe. It ends up making it richer and creamier. Luckily I had enough from the last time I've done this. Okay, so right now we're sitting about most of the way. I'm gonna see if I can get a big chunk out of this chunk. Oh my lord. It does not want to give up. That's a bend. Oh my god. Maybe I do need a cooking hammer. Okay. Let's just pour more into here. Of course, making a mess is part of the fun, so don't worry about that. Oh my god. Oh, okay. I'm gonna call that good. So go ahead and throw that in. And even, you know what? Oh my god. That's ridiculous. Oh my god. Like, I seriously, like that's how deep my finger's going into that. And it won't. My god. Oh, I did not expect. Oh. You know what? Okay. No, I give up. I'm gonna have one last resort. I'm gonna take this. Gonna pour a little bit of water onto that. Okay, that rehydrates it. Not to throw it away after this, but oh come on. Ah, fuck. Come on, you're like halfway down. Have to add more water. Okay, there we go. And that's it. I'm gonna toss this chunk because I can't put it wet back in the pantry. It's a good recipe for bugalows. Okay. After all that, dry my hands off. And we are done with the brown sugar. All right, so for reference, use brown sugar for the crust as well as for the sauce. Okay, I have lots of this everywhere. I'm gonna wipe that down super quick. Ooh, crock pot's getting hot already. Okay. Sauce back in you. So now, about a half cup of ketchup. This is a brand new bottle. I have to crack it open. Okay. The real struggles here, guys. All right. So a half cup of ketchup. And again, it's not the type of recipe anyone's gonna fault you for going over. So put that in, and you get two choices. Add an extra squirt, scoop it out with your finger. I'm no prude. Scoop it out with my finger. Again, it's not the type of thing anyone in the world is gonna get mad at you for adding too much of it. In fact, there we go. Now, here's where measuring gets critical. Oh, I had water in it. Quick wet. 1/3, so smaller than a half, more than a quarter. Oh, actually, you know what? Before any of that, I want to add in the dry packet. I guess I consider ketchup a dry ingredient. So, go ahead, pour that whole mama jaw in there. Should have an interesting looking art piece by now. set that aside for reference in case you forget the instructions. Okay. Now I got here Caheen apple cider vinegar, 5% acetic acid by volume. Has a bit of a weird smell. Don't smell it. 1/3. Bigger than a quarter, smaller than a half. This is one that people might get angry if you add too much. Although I hear in southern Louisiana they serve pulled pork with just vinegar on it. They just put vinegar on there. How wild. Anywho. Now here's where it gets fun. If you have any extra barbecue sauce kicking around, I'm truly talking anything. There's no wrong answers here. I have some Guinness Bullseye. Throw that in there. Toss that. I've got Jack Daniels, and before you get worried, Becca, I've used this in every single one before, because I just treat it like leftover barbecue sauce. Do a little out, just put a little bit in. Alright. Now that you've made this as saucy and barbecuey as you possibly can, give that a mix. Now, remember that large chunks of the brown sugar will definitely need to be broken up. It needs to be smooth. So you hear that? That crunch? You don't want that. You don't want to be pulling up big chunks of nothing. If you're having trouble breaking them down, there's nothing wrong with a bit of microwaving. And it's not on the packet, but me personally, what I've always done, I add an extra 1/3 cup of water. A little less, perhaps. And the reason for that is I just don't trust the recipe in a crock pot that doesn't have water. Are you telling me it's going to be steaming vinegar the whole time? Steaming ketchup? I don't know. Me, it needs that steam. So, gotta have water. Maybe I'm wrong. Who cares? Alright. You hear that? Oh, here's a glass. Okay. So, we are officially good. You can put your cooking Phillips head away. Again, I recommend keeping the whatever packet of sauce you use for reference. Center. Move it into whatever position you want. I'm going to move it in front of the camera. I'm, doing this whole tutorial shenanigan. And yes, I have the buttons towards me because y'all are going to have a different crock pot, I guarantee it. Essentially, I have off, low, high, and warm. Now, if you remember, I put this on high already just because I put the pulled pork in there. The general rule of thumb, and of course follow by whatever industry standard, government standards, or whatever the fuck, but I'm going to follow my package, and it says the rule of thumb, 4 hours on high, 8 hours on low. Feel free to do more, but probably not less. If you could, I probably also recommend probing this with a temperature probe. I don't do that. In my opinion, anything that survives being boiled for 4 to 8 hours deserves to kill me. No, I'm kidding. People do this every day, all the time, and it comes out perfect. If it's melting the fat from the inside of the meat, and it's a whole chunk of meat too to remember, there's not a lot of bacteria getting inside that. It's actually that outside portion of meat that's going to carry bacteria, which, remember, we seared. So there's really not a lot to be afraid of. Of course, it's pork. Cook it thoroughly. Triple check it. But, yeah. Final step here in this 30-minute adventure. Get that sauce nice and mixed up. And pour it over the pork. Right down the middle. Oh, yeah. And there is no reason to waste a drop of this sauce because we are cooking this in the sauce that we're going to pull this in. And even on the packet, it recommends pulling it outside of the sauce. I'm fucking pulling it in the sauce. Who's gonna tell me not to? Okay. So now, toss this fork out, rinse my hands. Drop a few bottles. And moment of truth. This is what we're left with. We pretty much maximized the capacity of this thing. We've pretty much got this bad boy ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead, got some crud on the thing from the, whatever. Put the lid on it. Go ahead and tell your virtual assistant to set a timer or an alarm for 4 hours on high, 8 hours on low. I'm doing high. I'll see you in 4 hours. Yeah. Thank you so much for sticking with it.